Presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. On the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And on the free Odyssey app.
Welcome in. It is the Sparky Pfeiffer in here today. And lucky you. You get me to 5 o'clock. That's right. 5 hours. Oh, my goodness gracious. You hear those? That's radio dials clicking off. Oh, to hell with this. I'm not listening to him for 5 hours. I'm listening to music or something. I ain't listening to Sparky for 5 freaking hours. That's too much Sparky. Hey, man, I get it. If that's the case, I totally understand if that's the issue. Okay, so coming up on today's show, there's no Mason Crosby because what does he call this? Human Wednesday?
I think that's the name we came up with it for. Yeah, it's Human Wednesday, we'll call it.
Human Wednesday. Beautiful. So that's good. So he's off, but he'll be back coming up tomorrow. Mitch Thunder Nellis, he's been doing the morning show with Trevor Thomas on Inside Wisconsin Sports. As we all know, Josh Albrecht's in Disney World, not Disneyland, Disney World, two different things. But tomorrow, now Tommy goes and is on the morning with Trevor. So a whole new dynamic on Inside Wisconsin Sports tomorrow. But then Mitch is back on this show tomorrow. So that's nice. So only one day of me being with y'all for an extra 2 hours.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun week here. Everyone gets to work with everyone over at the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. I have yet to work directly with Trevor Thomas as well. So it'll be the first time I get to work with him.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. I think he gets lucky though, because
does he? This is nice. Very humble.
6 o'clock. No, 6 o'clock in the morning. Like, I don't know how full Tommy I can be on him there, but I'm intrigued to see how that works out tomorrow. And I mean, he's just a mammoth of a human. It's just always being in his presence alone is always just insane.
But think about it this way: he's at WNFL doing that show, so he's not sitting across from you or standing over you looking at you at 6'8".
Yeah, but
makes it a little less daunting.
But that camera, you can just tell that camera's putting in work to get that full body out there. Like, our camera's super easy. We're zoomed in a little bit.
But yeah.
Like, everything looks fine. Like, his camera has to have probably 8 wide lenses on it to make sure it looks good.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
He's a big dude.
Yeah.
Big dude.
All right, coming up on today's show, Andy Herman, Pack a Day Podcast. I've not talked to Andy Herman in quite some time, so looking forward to catching up with Andy Herman coming up at 1 o'clock today. Tommy and I are together, which means you're going to have some Brewers talk on this show. I hate to break it to you, but that's what him and I really get down with, our Brewers, especially off-season Brewers and all that stuff. So we will talk some Brewers. Pat Murphy wins back-to-back Manager of the Year awards. We'll get into that coming up at 12:40.
Told you.
There are some rumors flying around at the GM meetings involving the Milwaukee Brewers and deals that they may want to be involved in, and Freddie Peralta and all that stuff. So we'll jump into that coming up at 1:20. But we are going to start off here in the first half hour talking about the Green Bay Packers, and we'll talk more about the Packers with Andy Herman at 1 o'clock. So you will get Packers, you will get Brewers. And then Mason's extra points will not be Brewers or Packers when we get to that at 1:40. I got something else for you there. Okay, so yesterday, I believe it was, I talked about on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, that I did not understand what in the world the Giants were doing last weekend, because you lose your starting quarterback in Jackson Dart to a concussion, and Russell Wilson was the backup quarterback that went into the game, and he's on the sidelines, like praying to the heavens with Jameis Winston before he went back into the game, asking for his talent to be put back into his body that he lost in the last couple of years. Went out there and no such luck. Prayers were not answered. Still found no talent in that body and looked awful. And I'd said yesterday, like, there's no reason he should have been out there in front of Jameis Winston. I mean, I've not seen Jameis Winston play yet this year, but I promise you Jameis Winston can give more to an offense than Russell Wilson can at this point of both of their careers.
Do we feel bad for Russell Wilson?
Look, man, if we're going to be honest, I feel bad. I don't really feel bad for Rodgers. I do to a degree, maybe, but I feel bad anytime you're past your prime and you're still trying to hang on by a thread because you don't want to leave the locker room. You don't want to leave the camaraderie. You don't want to go on.
But it hit Russell Wilson hard, man. It hit him hard. Like, Joe Flacco's still out here balling right now, and Russell Wilson, as soon as he left Seattle, there's been almost no light in that tunnel.
Nope. And you know, I've been blessed in my life to know a bunch of athletes doing this job and become friends with a bunch of former athletes as well. And you always hear the same thing that, integrating back into normal life type deal kind of sucks. And for some of them, it's a real struggle. And maybe that's sometimes why you hear guys getting in trouble or losing all their money or whatever the case may be, because you lose that camaraderie. I mean, if you think about, like, say, baseball, right? I mean, you're with those same people from the middle of February till October. And if you're good almost into November, and then you're with your family, your real family, for like 3 months, right? 3.5 months. And then you're back with your baseball family again. So once that's gone, and now it's you and your real family, and you don't hang out with the guys anymore, you don't have the clubhouse antics or the locker room antics of the NFL or the NBA or whatever, there's some getting used to with that. And that's why a lot of times guys want to play till nobody wants them, because they don't want to go face that reality afterwards. And yeah, they might have millions and huge houses and everything else. But as I always say, just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you're happy. It helps, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're happy. There are a lot of lonely rich people all over this country.
Oh, and that's why, a lot of the people get into our industry where, I mean, it's the closest profession that can resemble a locker room of anywhere else, probably,
yes.
Right? I mean, that's kind of how it is.
Talk.
Yeah,
yes.
Sports talk radio. It's the same aura, same vibe around it, at least.
No doubt. So, yeah, I mean, I guess to a degree, I feel sorry for Russell Wilson, who's married to Ciara and has a family and, never will have to work another day in his life.
Millions of
that
dollars.
Dude is good. I will be shocked if that dude's not on TV. He's going to be on TV, whether it's an analyst like Drew Brees just landed that analyst role, because Mark Sanchez got himself in a whole bunch of trouble.
Well, I was thinking specifically just because of the Wisconsin tie with it. And it felt like once he made it to the NFL, he turned quickly because he was a Seattle Seahawk and they did so many things to the Green Bay Packers over his tenure there. But like, should we be feeling and rooting for Russell Wilson as a Wisconsin base?
I'll root for Russell Wilson when he's the new GM of the Badgers.
Yeah.
Until that happens, no, I'm not. No, I don't.
Okay, fair enough.
You leave the Packers, I'm done. Like you leave the Bucks, we're done. You leave the Brewers, we're done. Like I don't care who you are, pretty much done at that point, unless it's a situation where your team is awful, that player's in a championship game or something, and super cool, like Willie Adames. Right. So if Willie Adames was in the World Series and the Brewers won 70 games and weren't in the playoffs or nothing, and Willie Adames had a chance to win a ring, I'd probably pull for Willie Adames.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just wondering, that happens always to you? You never have guys that you stick with no matter where they go?
Oh.
Wow. All right. Interesting. I think there is a lot of fandom that goes that way.
Yes.
Where they root
People
for the guy
Pittsburgh
that leaves.
Steelers, Aaron Rodgers jerseys and all that stuff.
Yeah, and just being such a fan of a specific player that you would follow them wherever they go as well.
I liked Aaron Jones. I ain't wearing no damn Vikings Aaron Jones jersey.
I ain't
rooting for the Vikings either.
Yeah.
No, I liked Edgar Bennett, but I wasn't rooting for the Bears once he got to the Bears. Nope, I'm out.
Yeah, I think that's different, though. That's a different dynamic.
It depends on what team he goes to then.
Like if Aaron Rodgers would have went to the Colts, I guess was a bad example because you're already a Colts guy. But yeah, I think that there's an avenue to be upset for Russell Wilson because he went to Wisconsin.
I feel bad might be the right word. Maybe I feel bad because he's still playing and he shouldn't be. Aaron Rodgers clearly showed that last game that he was a shell of himself and scared of getting hit based on how he was reacting to blitzes. So there is some of that with Aaron Rodgers as well. We'll see if that continues going forward, but that was about as bad. Like Brett Favre. He gets taken out in that Vikings game in the fetal position on the back of a cart. I was like, damn, man. Like, that's a Hall of Famer. That's how he's going to go out. That's how this is going to end.
Right.
Like, and I rooted against Brett, obviously, hard, and didn't want any good for Brett Favre.
Well, and that's how it was with the Aaron Rodgers injury when it first happened, too, right? Once he tears his Achilles with the Jets, like that one stung. It was like, all right, I know it left ugly, but to get 4 plays on your next team before anything happens.
Can I throw something out there? If you don't mind.
Okay.
Just popped in my head. And when it pops in my head, it's kind of got to come out my mouth. Because otherwise it's going to drive me crazy.
I'm scared.
You should be. What if this dude retires and comes back as the OC to LaFleur?
Oh my gosh. Oh, shot. What? First of all, you just said OC to LaFleur. So that you can throw out the window and that would never happen because
you don't think
he is not working with Matt LaFleur.
He said it was a partnership. Him and Matt are guys.
Nope. He's not guys with him. I mean, maybe he's kind of guys with him. I don't know their relationship, but 0% chance that happens.
And then Rodgers works with Love. You get all of that.
Oh yeah, because he'll be.
They
really
would never run the ball
that.
again. But I mean, you'd get all of that.
We better get into the topic before we never get to it right now.
Our topic's almost done. We're 12 minutes into the show already. It's too late to even do a topic at this point. But we'll do it anyhow. This is your fault because you sidetracked me with the Russell Wilson stuff. Mm-hmm. The question is this. Now that it's been known that Brian Daboll is fired and Kafka is the new interim head coach, Shane is still the general manager. Not sure what that's all about. Yeah. Either way, he's going to get a second coach, it looks like. So now comes word today that providing Jackson Dart can't possibly go this week, that they're going to go in a different direction than maybe what everybody was thinking. Because I shouldn't say we all, but most people, I think, thought, well, if Jackson Dart goes this week, it's going to be a tougher matchup for the Green Bay Packers. No question about it. It's going to be a tougher deal. Okay, fine. But if Jackson Dart can't go and it's Russell Wilson, then, they're going to sack him like 6 to 8 times. It's going to be around. It's going to be fun. And then here comes Ian Rappaport.
Sources tell the insiders that Jameis Winston is now in line to start for the New York Giants this Sunday. It's not clear. We don't know for sure because Jackson Dart, as you mentioned, is in the NFL's concussion protocol. And the way every player responds to a concussion is different. And every concussion is different. So we will see what he is like today, whether or not he is able to practice. But if he cannot go, Jameis Winston, the likely starter. Now, remember, Russell Wilson has been the backup quarterback. Well, first was the starting quarterback, then was the backup quarterback for the Giants the last several weeks. It has not gone well. Russell has looked bad, and you really do wonder if this is the end for Russell Wilson. Has been a rough go-over recently. So Mike Kafka, the interim coach, going to go with Jameis Winston, who gets elevated from the 3 to the 2, potentially to start this week. Jameis, of course, started 7 games last year, 13 TDs, 12 interceptions, generally how it has gone. You mentioned the coaching search. The Giants now will have Joe Shane, the general manager, leading that coaching search. Going to happen now behind the scenes as the Giants continue with their season. Kafka, I believe, will get a head coach interview. Generally, the interim coach does. If you're talking about some names to watch, wouldn't be surprised if they got a little bit of a nod to the Tom Coughlin era. Maybe take a look at Steve Spagnuolo, their former respected defensive coordinator, who's been with the Chiefs. That would be one name. Antonio Pierce would be another name to watch just as far as former Giants. Lou Anarumo was a secondary coach for the Giants, certainly has done incredibly well as the defensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts. Matt Nagy, who actually Kafka has worked with. Plenty of good names for the Giants to look at. And considering they got a guy in Jackson Dart, this is going to be a very, very coveted opening.
These guys, the Giants, tend to, for whatever the reason, always hire offensive guys. They normally don't hire defensive guys. And there's a thought that maybe the Mara family will change their minds and go defense. I had said yesterday that you start looking at odds of who's going to get this job. Lane Kiffin's at the top of the chart because he was Jackson Dart's college coach.
Oh, you saw that.
It would make sense as well if it's him. Now, he didn't bring him up, but he also didn't bring up Halfley either, if we're paying attention. There was no Halfley brought up.
What if it is old friend Big Mike?
McCarthy?
Yeah.
Nah.
I saw him as a betting favorite on another sports book as well.
That would make sense. I mean, I get why he's a betting favorite. If I'm McCarthy, I don't think I want to deal with that personally. But you couldn't pay me to deal with New York media.
He would get
no chance.
Torn up.
Yeah, there's no
the
chance.
New York media.
Like, you're living in Green Bay right now. Why the hell would you want to go put up with that for? Like,
yeah.
I have no interest.
What about Gruden?
You have to pay that dude a lot of money to leave a TV booth. I mean, he got kicked out of the TV booth. He's doing Barstool now, making good money doing Barstool and all of that. It's just all a matter if he still has that itch and wants to go back and coach. I think he probably does, but he's not going back for a couple $1 million a year.
No.
You're going to have to pay that cat like probably $8-10 million a year, something like that at least, in order to get him back to go back. I think Gruden would love the opportunity to work with Jackson Dart. I'm not sure how Jackson Dart would work with John Gruden.
Would you take him in Green Bay?
As a head coach?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, all right.
I just don't know if I could deal with that personality pressers and all the other
I
stuff.
tell you what, man.
Yeah, like, I don't know if I want to go through all that. I mean,
It
I'm
would
not
be
saying you can't do a good job. I'm just saying I
way
don't
better
think,
presser to listen to John Gruden after games than it would be Matt LaFleur. You know that.
Oh yeah, sure,
Way better.
Yeah, I agree. But now you're just saying, from what we do. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't think I could want to deal with John Gruden, man. No, I don't think I do.
Just get ready. AI's crazy now. There'll be Photoshop of it in no time.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick time out. We're going to come back. And we're going to talk about what Ian Rappaport said there about Jameis Winston being the next quarterback of the New York Giants. That's going to play, providing Jackson Dart doesn't get out of concussion protocol. A lot of people are already proclaiming he's going to be the starter this week. So we're asking you, how are you feeling about this game now, knowing that Jameis Winston is expected to start for the Giants? Because I think most of us were kind of concerned if it was Jackson Dart, not concerned at all if it was Russell Wilson. Where do you fall with Jameis Winston now, who is 1-2 in his career against the Green Bay Packers? Nikolai Law talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. It's the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky and Tommy with you. Welcome back. Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. Man, can I give you a little my own cell phone story?
Sure.
So I don't have Verizon. I'm going to say this now, yet, because I might end up with Verizon here soon. My cell phone bill comes out on my bank account automatically.
Yeah.
Right? I got double billed. So the cell phone bill is normally like $239. So instead of $239 coming out, it was like almost $500 coming out. I about had a heart attack.
Well, you gotta take your old bill to Verizon, and then they'll get you a better deal. That's what they do every time.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So as I'm fuming mad about what happened, then I see a story that says the bank itself apparently was double billing everybody across the country for any automatic withdrawals that were coming out. So people were overdrawn by like thousands of dollars in some cases.
Man. Yeah, you got your mortgage on automatic right there. And you're taking out 2 mortgages.
And you're double billed for it.
No, that's crazy.
Thankfully,
that's insane.
they fixed it by the next morning. It was fixed and everything was right. But I was like, oh my goodness. About had a heart attack. All right. Let's talk about this deal. Tommy, on that side of the glass, Sparky with you. Mason off today. Mitch was on the morning show today with Trevor Thomas. Tomorrow, Tommy will be there, and Mitch will be back in this chair. How are you feeling about this game with Jameis Winston now expected to start for the Giants, as you just heard from Ian Rapport of NFL Network in the last segment? Are we feeling better than we would be if it was Russell Wilson? Worse than if it was Russell Wilson? Better than if it was Jackson Dart? Worse than if it was Jackson Dart? How screwed up are we now going into this game at noon on Sunday? Well, the Green Bay Football Post-Game Show powered by our fine friends. And I'm blanking.
Lakeland University.
Thank you.
Yep, gotcha.
By Lakeland University coming up from 3 to 5 on Sunday. So looking forward to that. Tommy Wirtz, how are we feeling about Jameis Winston?
I hate this spot for Green Bay. I really do. And not that Jameis Winston is a better player for the New York Giants than Jackson Dart is, but we have a fan base and an organization in Green Bay that is not trending in a very positive direction right now. There's obviously all this turmoil surrounding Matt LaFleur, surrounding Jordan Love. And then on the other side with the New York Giants, Jameis Winston coming in to start for an injured Jackson Dart after they give up on Russell Wilson, and they have an interim head coach. These just look like spots where guys get up for that game. And you already know that when you play the Green Bay Packers, we've heard them say it, like they're going to get their best every time. You want to beat the Green Bay Packers year in and year out. And I always feel like that first game with an interim head coach, that team gets a little bit of a bump. So
I agree.
I'm not saying that I feel that Green Bay is going to lose this game, but it could be tighter than it really is. And when I think of Jameis Winston versus Green Bay, I think of that Saints game, week 1 from a couple of years ago when it was one of the worst games. I think it was or is Matt LaFleur's least amount of points scored in a football game against the Saints as his member of the Packers, that 38-3 game, which you thought you were going to lose in a shutout in that game at that time. So
people probably wanted LaFleur fired after that one too.
The spot scares me. I think yesterday when we looked, the betting odds, courtesy of the Potawatomi Sportsbook, the Packers opened up at 7.5-point favorites. Looking at the current betting odds for the game now, it is down to 7 already, and they just named a backup quarterback will start. So that's weird for me. The spot is weird right now.
I don't know. I mean, from my perspective at this, Jameis Winston definitely scares me more than does Russell Wilson from a couple of different aspects. One, he's got a stronger arm. So the ability to get the ball down the field, get the ball in tight spaces, I believe Jameis Winston gives you more of that. Russell Wilson will run, yes. Russell Wilson easier to take down than Jameis Winston, whether it be from trying to sack Jameis Winston or trying to tackle Jameis Winston if he gets out and runs a little bit. And I know Winston, it isn't like he was coming out of Florida State necessarily, but he's still something that you have to contend with from that perspective. The third part of this, in my mind, is even more important than the other two parts. Guys rally to this cat, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guys look in this dude's eyes in the huddle, and they believe what Jameis Winston is telling them. dudes love playing with Jameis Winston. Can he be loud and talking and all that other stuff that goes along with it? Absolutely. But from everybody you read or hear from or talk to that has played with Jameis Winston, there are many dudes out there that be like, I don't like playing with Jameis Winston. Everybody likes playing with Jameis Winston. Everybody. So that is the thing for me going into this. I definitely feel worse about Winston than I do Russell Wilson. I think Jackson Dart still probably scares me more than Jameis Winston does.
Absolutely. But there is a flip side to this as well, where last week we saw the Green Bay Packers force a turnover on the Philadelphia Eagles when Edgerrin Cooper punched that ball out in the red zone. Massive moment in the game that kept Green Bay in that ball game. And I look at this as a defense struggling to create turnovers in Green Bay. It's been a very solid defense other than that one characteristic and that trait. And Jameis Winston is a guy who loves to commit turnovers as well. It could be in the cards for Green Bay that maybe it helps get them right into creating some turnovers on the defensive side and trying to help themselves build that confidence down the stretch here, because that's always been the one thing now about this defense is that they struggle to get the ball back for the offense. Maybe this is a good spot for Green Bay to have an opportunity with Jameis Winston, who you already know is just going to go out there and try to have the most amount of fun because his opportunity is going to be done once Jackson Dart's ready to come back in probably a week after this. So he's not afraid to sling it around, and he's also not afraid to try to take some extra chances when he's out there on the football field, and maybe Green Bay can capitalize on that. I see this as two ways of it could be way too close for comfort, and then really a lot of people are going to start freaking out about Green Bay when a 2-win team is coming in and keeping it close with you. Or this is a great opportunity for Green Bay with a new interim head coach, with a backup quarterback. You have to go out and just demolish the Giants in New York next week.
No doubt. And this is the other thing too, from my perspective, at least when we talk about this game. And I go back to what you said about the interim head coaching label and how this all plays out. Play calling is going to be different. Mm-hmm. Daboll was Daboll, whatever he says his name. He was the play caller, right? Yep. So even from that perspective, even if it was Jackson Dart, it's going to be different. If it was Russell Wilson, going to be different. So now you get a quarterback that really haven't played that this year anyhow, with a new play caller. From the Packers' perspective and Matt LaFleur's perspective coming into this game, you kind of come in with the unknown. Yeah, you got to be worried about Darius Slayton. You got to be worried about their ground game a little bit, I guess, coming into this thing. It's still not a lot of playmakers per se on this New York offense, but as far as how they're going to attack Hafley's defense, I think is a question mark going into this week.
And Kafka's a guy also as the interim head coach now for the Giants this week and for the remainder of the 2025 season. He's also been a name that's been on short lists of the next young hot guy coming into the coaching market. And now he gets his opportunity with New York. Is he going to have some stuff drawn up? You can't imagine. I would bet some money that there's going to be some trick play put in this week for the Giants, right? Against Green Bay, whether it is on special teams or some sort of reverse, whatever they do. But just something that hasn't been on film with what Brian Daboll's offense has been. And now Kafka gets an opportunity to showcase his creative mind and really put up or shut up on if he should be considered a coaching candidate in the NFL, because he's been on, finalists for interviews for a number of jobs over the years. And he's been coaching in the league now since 2017. This guy has been around for a little bit, but he's still only 38 years old. This is a great spot for Mike Kafka as well to make an opportunity out of it.
The other part about this too, when we talk about from a Packers standpoint, Hafley, you think he's thinking about this at all this week? You think his mind wandering a little bit? Hey, maybe I'll be a head coach here in New York against the Giants. Maybe I need to check out the facilities a little bit more. We shut this team out. That might help me get a job with the Mara family before this whole thing is said and done. I don't know where Hafley's headed. I'm not sitting here and telling you, oh yeah, he's eyeing other gigs or whatever the case may be. But if we're being honest, with all this LaFleur talk about, hey, how do you feel about your job security, Matt, and everything else? And if you're a guy that has his name up in lights right now from a defensive coordinator position, guys talking about being a future head coach in the NFL, and you hear how they're talking about your head coach, doesn't your mind probably wander a little bit as to maybe I need to start looking around for what's next and my guy gets let go here?
Oh, 100%. And why wouldn't you if you're a guy? Jeff Hafley, I know a lot of people, some of his knock they'll say is he doesn't have the NFL coaching experience, but He was a head coach at Boston College, left to come become a coordinator in the NFL. And that's probably because the similarities between college football and the NFL are getting closer and closer by the year with this new NIL and transfer portal era where every year is free agency and every year is a salary cap now at your team. So I think that he can make the transition a lot smoother than a lot of other coordinators could at the position as well because of his experience in the college coaching game right now. And why wouldn't Jeff Hafley's mind wander? You always have to be looking ahead at the next opportunity, no matter how it is. That's how these guys' brains work. I know it's a week-to-week league, but if you're not a head coach in the NFL and you're coaching in the NFL, aren't you always trying to get that next promotion, always trying to work your way up to the top wherever that opportunity may come? And I told you when we talked about it on Monday, when we were doing Wisconsin Sports Daily together, we had brought up who has the most pressure in the game. And I said, Jeff Hafley, like, let's be interested in this conversation, because if you go out and ball out and show that your defense can stop the Philadelphia Eagles offense in a ball game, and the Giants just fired their coach, and now you got to play Philly twice a year if you're the Giants, why wouldn't you consider Jeff Hafley for the job?
Absolutely. And I think that's a fair point. And as a Packer fan, you don't want to think about that. As a Packer fan, you want Hafley to stay in Green Bay, be the next head coach, and figure out who your offensive coordinator, I guess, is going forward. Nikolay Law Talk at text line answering this question. How are you feeling about this game with Jameis Winston expected to start for the New York Giants? 414-677-1250. From the 414, I feel worse about Jameis Winston. Wilson is washed. Winston is either going to throw 4 interceptions or throw for 400 yards. That's from the 414. I think you're right. I think there probably is some of that, right? Either he's going to go off and have some unbelievably great day and torch the Packers, or he's going to be extremely rusty and trying to force things. And the Packers end up with 2 or 3 interceptions, maybe a fumble, something along those lines, and it goes sideways. But don't let this be a close game, please. Just please don't. Like, I don't want to be sitting here with Tommy waiting to do the post-game show with 2 minutes to go in a tie game or a 3-point game, and the Giants have the ball.
Well, if you remember,
I do not want to watch this coming into another post-game show where I watch a game-winning field goal sail through against the Packers.
We deal with this every week when you're watching Green Bay Packer football. We talk about it last year, and I felt like there was 1, maybe 2 games you were feeling good the entire time through the process. Right. I remember Arizona last year when they faced Kyler Murray. That was probably the easiest Green Bay looked all season. Agreed. And then was it Thanksgiving with the Dolphins? Wasn't that another really good one where they looked pretty solid from, controlling the game from front to back? It just doesn't happen in the NFL very often. The parity is always up, and it's that any given Sunday mentality always.
Well, they whooped the Lions at one Thanksgiving a couple years ago.
The other thing with these Giants is now with an interim head coach, you're kind of playing for a job now, right?
Everybody on the roster.
Everyone on the roster. Should we be keeping these players, these guys at the back end? If there's someone new in charge, does that change up what the personnel could be? To have that and that first opportunity, I also feel worse with Jameis Winston as opposed to Russell Wilson starting, but I feel worse because it's not Brian Dable, who's a guy hanging on for dear life for a job, and it's a guy who really has nothing to lose in Mike Kafka.
Right. That's a great point, too, right? There's nothing to lose at this point. Dable was fighting for his job, and obviously everybody on that coaching staff now can play free, call without any pressure on him because the main guy is out. They're not going to fire the entire coaching staff between now and the end of the season. So everybody that survived that cut will probably still be on this coaching staff for the remainder of the season. All right, JH Garrett, we're going to go over to the Milwaukee Brewers before we get to Andy Herman from the Packer Day podcast. He joins us coming up at 1 o'clock. Last night, Pat Murphy was able to secure another Manager of the Year award in the National League. That is back-to-back. And how about Stephen Vogt doing the same thing in the American League? I mean, I didn't see any numbers as far as the last time the same 2 dudes won back-to-back Manager of the Year awards.
The first time that's happened.
But that's pretty remarkable.
Well, it's only ever happened once in the National League, so I would assume that it's the first time that's ever happened. Like Bobby Cox, the only National League manager to win back-to-back Managers of the Year.
Yeah, Bobby Cox is the only one to win back-to-back, correct? And I'm guessing the American League guy didn't win it back-to-back with Bobby Cox.
Right. That's what I mean. So it's got to be the first time that's ever happened.
Right. So the question that we have for you is, because I feel like with the Packers and seemingly with the Brewers here recently, kind of with the Buck, we're kind of in this championship or bust mentality with our sports teams right now because they're consistently in the playoffs every year, and that's kind of where we live right now. We aren't watching a bunch of bad sports teams where, man, we just make the playoffs, I'd be happy. I don't care what happens when we get there. But we're kind of in that championship or bust mentality. How would you grade Pat Murphy's tenure with the Brewers to this point? How would you grade Pat Murphy's tenure with the Brewers? Because if it really is that championship or bust mentality, I'm assuming he's not going to get a bunch of A's unless you're changing the rules for Pat Murphy and putting all the blame on Mark Antanasio. So we'll discuss that coming up next. You can feel free to hop aboard. Nicolay Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. Live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back, Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. Sparky in for Mason today and Mitch. They're both out. Tommy Wirtz in, other side of the glass. Both those guys, Mason and Mitch, back tomorrow from noon to 2 in their normal time slot. I still have people on the Nicolay Law Talking text line messaging about guys they would want to see in here, potentially, to come back to be the play caller or the head coach or whatever the case may be. 608, what would you feel about McCarthy back to the Packers? Since there's no one on this team that was on the last team he coached in Green Bay, and he did have Dak for about 3 years cooking, it was just the defense that was garbage from the 608.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like that doesn't happen very often in sports.
Not from the guy that fires you.
Right, especially with Goody. Yeah, I can only think of like Billy Martin. I feel like Billy Martin got fired and rehired by the Yankees all the time. And the other guy I can think of is Bobby Petrino in Arkansas. Just continues to come back and, get a tenure again with the team. So I don't see it as a very likely scenario. And I feel like we know how that works. Like, just because he got one championship 15 years ago, now we go back to him because of it. I love Big Mike. We had him on the show. Great guest. Fun time. I don't know if he even wants to be the coach of the Green Bay Packers.
He's definitely a guy that you'd want to go have a beer with or whatever at a bar. And
would you rather McCarthy
Yes.
be the head coach of the Packers next year or the Badgers next year?
Packers.
Wow, really?
I don't trust him to put together a college staff. I don't trust him to go out and recruit. I don't trust him to know what the NIL is all about. I don't trust any of that. No. I want him in his element. I know he can win football games in the National Football League. The thing is, Matt LaFleur wins games in the National Football League too. The difference is one has a Super Bowl ring and the other doesn't. McCarthy built a young quarterback in Aaron Rodgers to get to a Super Bowl. So I know he can develop a quarterback and build a quarterback. So now we're talking about, can McCarthy develop and build another guy to come in here and do that? Rainbow Trout in the Dugout YouTube chat says he would be all about, wouldn't object to McCarthy. Top choice is Gruden. I can't do that.
Gruden would be awesome. I mean, it might be awful, but it would also be awesome.
I like listening to him, in small sample sizes.
You guys have ruined me. Like, I have to think of everything through a radio content perspective. Like, I would root for John Gruden to be the head coach of the Green Bay Packers.
Because of content.
100%.
Okay, so we're going to switch gears here before we get to Andy Herman, the Pack a Day podcast at 1 o'clock. Pat Murphy, well done, right? Back-to-back Manager of the Year awards in the National League for Pat Murphy. And a very cool deal there. The question that we have is, how would you grade Pat Murphy's tenure with the Brewers, since we are living in a championship or bust mentality with Brewers fans every year for the last several years? We are living in that same mentality with the Packers. And for the most part, for the last several years, we've been in that same boat with the Bucks. Now, not this year, because nobody thinks the Bucks can go far this year, but up until that point, when they had Lillard, it was championship or bust. When they had Holiday, it was championship or bust. And I feel like that's where we are with the Brewers. So if that's the case, and Murphy's never been to the World Series before with his Brewers team, I'm curious to see how you're really going to grade Pat Murphy on this topic. Nicolay Law, talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. You can stream us live on X or on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at WI Sports Radio. Tommy, what say you?
If we're going on a scale of A to F, correct, I would give him an A minus. If we were going A plus to F, I would give him an A. I think that you have back-to-back NL Managers of the Year. The expectation for this Brewers team in back-to-back seasons was not to win a division. He did win the division. Last year, it's a heartbreaking finish against the Mets. But this year, you break the win streak record, you break the all-time win record, and you win a playoff series against your rival, against Craig Counsell. I mean, he's got to be in the A's. I know that it hasn't been a championship-level team maybe for the last 2 years, but Pat Murphy has kept this Brewers team relevant, in which no one in the national media thought they would stay relevant once Craig Counsell left, and once Devin Williams left, and once Corbin Burns left. And Pat Murphy has been the poster child, at least for this Brewers team, in 2 very fantastic years. Championship would get him to that A+ level, or A level, if you will, but he's right near the top. He's one of the best managers in the league.
So I agree with you on Murphy, even though there are things that drive me nuts about Pat Murphy. Specifically, okay, we could talk about lineups, but no manager ever is going to make me happy with lineups. So let's just accept that for what it is. But just the whole, nobody knows who we are, all that all year just drove me nuts. Like, okay, by the time we get to August, dude, we all know who you are. Like, everybody knows who you are. The teams are annoyed by listening to you talk about it. Like, just enough is enough.
Woodpeckers.
We get to the end of September, we're still talking about how, nobody thinks we would be here. And just, I hope we don't do this again. I can't handle another year of that.
Can't name anyone in our lineup.
Please don't say this next year, because you were just in the playoffs and won a series. That you cannot use that rhetoric next year.
It feels like it's impossible to use again. Now it's 2 years you've been in the postseason with a roster of people no one knew about.
Manager of the year twice.
Yeah, everyone knows that the Milwaukee Brewers actually even. I mean, have you looked at some of the preview stuff for next year? Early preview stuff. I've yet to see one with the Brewers winning the NL Central.
Well, no, I saw one with CBS Sports, and the guy was like power rankings. There weren't predictions, but power rankings. And he said, nope, I'm not falling for it again. I'm picking the Brewers. And I think he's got the Brewers 2 or 3 in baseball going into next year.
Wow, that high.
And ESPN, of course, is who they are. They had the Cubs 6 and the Brewers 7, I want to say. Just because, for the same reasons they always have of why they can't pick them above the Cubs.
I don't understand that either, because all signs point to Kyle Tucker is gone.
Kyle Tucker is gone.
He will not be there. And I know he had a rough second half of the season with Chicago and became kind of irrelevant.
Sounds like the Dodgers.
He's going to the Dodgers.
That's what it sounds like, possibly. Yeah.
I mean, just everyone's going to go to the Dodgers. So
they need an outfielder.
Yeah, well, they're going to also sign 4 dudes from Japan.
But you're going to lose Kershaw. They're clearing like $85 million in payroll this offseason.
They're going to lose Kershaw, who also was like 39 years old or whatever he was.
Right.
Like, I mean,
but they're losing
their
salary,
7th starter.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that the Brewers should absolutely still be considered a betting favorite to be top in the National League Central next year. And I think that would change drastically if Pat Murphy wasn't at the helm, too. So that's another thing that has to go in a notch in his favor for his grade in his tenure with the Brewers so far. And are we counting bench coach years? Are we just saying the manager years? Like, as far as Pat Murphy being a part of this organization,
A+.
He's awesome.
If you're including bench coach, obviously it's an A+, no doubt. And most valuable Brewers coach in a long, long time for this Brewers team, superseding even the trader down in Chicago. This is a couple of things. Number one, it doesn't have to be public knowledge one way or the other, but for the love of God, please tell me that this owner of the Milwaukee Brewers did pay Mark Attanasio or is about to give him a raise of some sort, right? I mean, back-to-back manager
Matt
of the
Arnold, you mean?
No, Mark Attanasio. He's going to be the one divvying up how much they're going to pay this cat, right?
Okay.
Please tell me you're going to go in with a sizable increase and be like, hey, Pat, we appreciate everything. We don't want this to get to a situation where the trader was mad because he wasn't getting paid enough, so we're going to take care of you right now. I mean, they offered him in council the highest paid at $5.5 million or whatever. I'm not asking them to pay this guy $10 million or anything like that, but he should definitely be somewhere in the area. If council is making $8 million, Pat Murphy better be making $6 or $7 million at this point.
Does his age play a factor into that? Maybe he wouldn't leave?
No. Well, I don't care about the leaving. I'm just saying pay the man. I'm not saying you have to give him a 10-year deal, but I'm saying if he's making, I don't know what he's making right now, but if he's making, say, $2 or $3 million right now, he should be making $5, $6, $7 million.
I thought that move of Ricky Weeks to the front office or whatever his role is now.
Yeah.
I thought that also gave an inclination of Pat Murphy's in here for the long haul.
Yep. Yeah. I totally agree with you on that. Let's go to James on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line, south side of Milwaukee. What's going on, James?
Well, I think I'd give Pat Murphy an A for the season there, for the regular season. I'd give him a C- for making into the playoffs, because I feel that he didn't complete the whole thing there.
Oh, he didn't complete the whole thing. They didn't go to the World Series. Thanks for the call. How much of their lack of hitting goes on the manager?
Well, and also he won a playoff series, and that's something this team hasn't done since 2018. And you beat the Cubs. The Cubs beat, like, that was, I don't want to call it like the World Series, but beating Craig Counsell and your rival in Chicago, like, you're above average on that. No way, C-. No way.
I agree with you on that as well. But yeah, he's done a hell of a job, deserves a hell of a lot more money than he's making. and hopefully he gets it. Coming up next, Andy Herman from the Pack-A-Day podcast. We'll get his thoughts on Jameis Winston, looking like he's going to be the starting quarterback for the New York Giants, providing Jackson Dart doesn't get out of concussion protocol. It's not going to be Russell Wilson. That's straight ahead, the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer in for Mason and Mitch, and Tommy Wirtz is here, other side of the glass.
A Super Bowl champion.
The Green Bay Packers have won the Super Bowl.
The Packers' all-time leading scorer.
A game winner for Mason Crosby.
It's time for the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Nellis, presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers, on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and on the free Odyssey app.
Welcome in as we broadcast live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Charlie Usen is coming up with me with Wisconsin Sports Daily from 2 to 5. He returns to tell us stories about the Packers game over the weekend. Right now, Tommy Wirtz is over there.
You're so
Mason
smooth
and
with
Mitch Nellis
So
are
smooth
on
with
today.
it.
I don't know what you're talking about. Joining us now on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. Look at his cute little face right there with his hat on. Right there on X and on YouTube. He is Andy Herman of the Pack a Day podcast. Andy, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. The beautiful thing is I never know who I'm going to talk to on any given Wednesday. I don't think I've had the same group. I don't think I've talked to Mason yet. I've been on the Mason Crosby show probably 8 times now. I have not yet talked to Mason.
You have. One time you have talked to Mason
right,
since this Wednesday has gone on, because he had to switch a day for a Tuesday or a Thursday, but it has been one time. This also kind of funny to me because we just had Peter Bukowski on yesterday of Locked On Packers on Wisconsin Sports Daily right after this show. And it also started with, Peter, you're too hot for your job. And then Sparky says, look at your cute face to Andy right after that. So back-to-back day, just nothing but compliments.
It happens. Bukowski was a little weirded out by it, I think, and then was on Twitter about it last night, talking about it as well. And that led to, I will just lead here because people may not have heard Wisconsin Sports Daily. We had a caller yesterday on that show that is mad at Matt LaFleur for being too good looking and caring too much about his hair, caring too much about his eyebrows, and said that is more important than coaching this football team, and then pointed to the other sideline to Sirianni and said, look at what that guy looks like. I'm like, well, there's a difference between caring and not caring about your appearance. Either way, I don't think it means you do your job better or not better than the other guy, Andy.
We are in lockstep. I think of all of the 99 problems that are going on with the Green Bay Packers right now, the eyebrows ain't one. Would be what I would say. That is the least of my concerns of the Green Bay Packers for what's going on. So yeah, I get that it's definitely been a talking point from time to time. The well-groomed nature. I have never once been accused of being too good looking to be a podcaster. So that's I take pride in that. But yeah, I think of all the things going on with Matt right now, not the issue that I'd be focused on.
Let's talk a little bit about this Packers offensive line, if you don't mind, Mr. Andy Herman, because I've been reading up on different things concerning this offensive line. At the end of this year, Rasheed Walker is a free agent. Sean Ryan is a free agent. Darian Kennard is a free agent, and they'll save $20 million if they cut Elton Jenkins at this point. Your guy, Justice Moscata, put together a doomsday piece on pretty much they better figure out how to coach who they have at this point, because there's not going to be much help coming probably in the next couple of years from a free agency standpoint, because they're strapped for money. So it's going to have to come through the draft, in which you have no first round picks for the next couple of years either. How are you feeling about the situation the Packers currently have themselves in now and in the future with this offensive line?
Well, if you want some good news out of bad news, it would be totally different if, Rasheed Walker, Elton Jenkins, Darian Kennard, and Sean Ryan were potentially leaving and they were actually playing really good football.
True.
That would be a little bit more concerning to me in the future. Right now, they're not. Nobody's really playing great football on this offensive line. Zach Tom has mostly been fine, but he didn't have a great game this past week against Philly either. I think the injury is probably affecting him, and I think that's why his play is a little bit down. But yeah, you're in a situation right now where the weakest link on this Packers team in totality is their offensive line. It's affecting everything from Jordan to Josh to the receivers to the offense as a whole. And unless that gets fixed, I just talked about this on a live show I was doing. I honestly don't care if this team finds a way to go, 7-1 in the next 8 games or something. If the offensive line continues to play like this, they're ultimately dead on arrival for like Super Bowl equity. Yep. Maybe they win a playoff game, maybe they don't, whatever. But that is the biggest 1A thing. You just can't win against good teams when it matters most, when I mean, you saw a game against Philly this past week who has not been as dominant on their defensive front, and you average less than 3.5 yards per carry on the ground with your running backs, and you allow 40% pressure rate, above 40% pressure rate on Jordan Love per next gen stats. So at least in the past, before, it was like, well, we're not a great run blocking team, but like we're serviceable, or we're epic at pass protection. And now you don't have that going for you either. And to me, again, it's the biggest 1A issue on this team. And if they don't get it fixed here, it's a non-starter for where this team can go moving forward.
The other part about this is just how truly bad they are, right? So Aaron Banks, you sign him as a free agent, you know he's not good. But then you go and you look at the Pro Football Focus stuff, and he gave up 6 pressures by himself. I mean, if you don't know this, you should. Andy Herman has his own grading system that he does every week and grading players and so forth. It's not like Pro Football Focus. He's got his own methodology that he uses. Who was the last guy that was that bad? Can you tell me who that guy was?
Yeah. So Banks is an interesting study. To be crystal clear, I have not graded him yet for this week. That's my job for today and tomorrow, is grading the offense and finishing up the grade. So I've not graded him yet this week. By all accounts, by PFF and just by the naked eye and watching him through the game and then on the rewatch, he looked like he had a really bad game this week. One of the worst games that I've seen. I do think the past few weeks he's been mostly fine / even good. And I think PFF has him pretty similar in that time frame. His only other really bad game was his first one, where he played very poorly. And I think a lot of that was due to the injury. I do think this has been a little bit more of the outlier, but it looked like a really nuclear bad game for Aaron Banks. What you get from him the remainder of this year is going to be extremely important. As far as like something similar, like I can remember Byron Bell, like that dude just was absolutely awful at guard for Green Bay. He was just a turnstile up front. There was one play where I remember very clearly, he just took out like 2 guys on his own offensive line rather than blocking anyone on the defense, which was very fun. Alex Light, when he had to step in at right tackle, was really, really brutal.
You know what the nice thing about this is? Both those guys, 99% of the people have no idea who the hell you're talking about.
Which is the best part,
Neither
right?
one of those guys got paid anywhere close to what Aaron Banks is getting paid.
No, not what Banks got. No, but Bell was a free agent signing to start at guard for sure. But yeah, nothing like Banks. And again, it was a really, at least at first glance, again, haven't graded it yet, but it seemed like a very bad game for him this week.
Elton Jenkins, the move to center. Now he's got a fracture and he's going to the injured list. But I would have to imagine that you would say that did not work out in that center experiment this year either.
No, did not work. I don't think the way anybody thought it would. I talked to Mike Wall about this a couple weeks ago, because I was pretty damn harsh on Elton for the way that he was playing. Mike was more of the mind of, hey, and trust me, if you're going to take a take from an offensive line, take it from Mike, not from me.
I have Mike on all the time. Yeah, I love Mike Wall.
He's amazing.
Yep.
Mike was more of the mind of like, hey, get him back to guard. And I think that's going to fix some things. The way he was playing, I didn't love the effort. I didn't love the physicality. Like, I honestly don't know that moving him to guard would have solved the issues of the way that Elton was playing. It's an entire, maybe he's happier. Maybe he's more comfortable. Maybe he has more confidence. And sometimes that stuff just brings out the other stuff. So yeah, absolutely try it. But just the way he was playing was really disappointing and frustrating at times. So either way, it was a really massively disappointing season for Elton Jenkins. And there's a non-zero chance he's played his last game as a Green Bay Packer, depending on if and when he gets back this season. If he does not get back in time for when, Green Bay is competing, or by the time they're eliminated or whatever, I'd be pretty stunned at the moment if Elton's back next year.
Well, Andy, you talk about this offensive line and how it has to play better if Elton Jenkins is healthy and does come back and is a part of the offensive line. Like, does the offensive line get better by moving him out of that center position? Because there's not a lot they can do personnel-wise to bring in or remove people from this offensive line heading into this, downstretch of this 2025 season. But is that something where you've seen what he can do already at center? It hasn't worked out in that way. And now let's try to get back some of what we got with Elton Jenkins and putting him back at a guard position and letting Sean Ryan play center.
Yeah, I'm intrigued for sure. Sean Ryan, I thought looked okay, getting at first glance of where he was at center. What I'm going to be really interested in are the checks and calls at the line. If I'm the Giants, I'm probably bringing some double A gap stuff, and I'm going to bring some exotic looks right up the middle to see if their new center is able to call that stuff out. and block it, effectively. And I could easily see them putting Abdul Carter or Brian Burns or one of those guys right over center and saying, all right, what are you going to do? Are you going to slide one way? Are you going to slide the other? Are you going to, make sure everything's protected inside? Are you going to be able to block those guys one-on-one? So I think the Giants will bring some exotic stuff against that. That's probably what I'm looking at more. But at worst case scenario, I would expect Sean Rhyan to at least kind of break even with what Elton Jenkins has given you so far. I also, my biggest concern probably isn't at center or even with Aaron Banks, and it's not even at tackle. I think Jordan Morgan's been really bad. And again, this is why you say the offensive line as a whole. Yeah, exactly right. So I know. So that's another one. Do you try a Belton? Do you try a Kennard? Do you try something at right guard? Now, I don't know. But
okay, let me ask you this, Andy. Let me interrupt. Let me ask you this. Rasheed Walker playing any good? Because is there a world in where they say to hell with this? Like, this kid's going to be left tackle next year. We're not bringing back Rasheed Walker. We know this. He's not playing well enough to really justify having to play at left tackle at this point. Do they just slide him over to left tackle at some point and then put Belton in at right guard and go from there and start getting ready for next year and see if Jordan Morgan really is the answer at left tackle? Because me personally, I don't want to go into next year. He's the starting left tackle, and he's barely played any snaps at left tackle in the regular season.
If you get to a point where you're eliminated from the playoffs, maybe, but even if Rasheed's not been good, he might be your second best offensive lineman right now. So I'm not necessarily looking to degrade another position either. I just don't think Jordan Morgan's been good enough. So to me, it would be more of just a benching than anything else. But if you get to that point in time where, hey, you're out of the playoff contention and you need to start looking forward to 2026, then yeah, by all means. And again, I think the biggest thing here is, I talked about this quite a bit on the live Q&A I was just doing, but there's no easy button here on the offensive line of like, oh, if they just move this guy to this position, or if they just call these different plays, they have to do fundamentally better up front. When that comes to footwork and hand placement and technique and leverage, if all of that, it doesn't matter who's in what spot or what plays you're calling or anything else. That's not to absolve guys being in the wrong spot or some of the play calling at all. That stuff can potentially improve. And maybe you start throwing some crap at the wall and seeing what sticks. I'm all for it. I'm cool with it. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to just fundamentally block better up front. And if you don't, you're in a world of hurt.
Andy Herman Pack-A-Day podcast. Follow him on X at Andy Herman NFL. Joining us here on the Mason Crosby Show. Sparky in for Mason and Mitch. Shot me words here as always. Luke Bucket's the offensive line coach. Your offensive coordinator is a former offensive line coach in Stenovich. What's changed? These guys were doing just fine the last couple of years. So what changed?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's just degradation over time. If it's me, it's all hands on deck. I don't care that Steno's the offensive coordinator. You don't need to strip his title, but he's spending all of his time in that offensive line room. Again, I'm having a real, sort of come to Jesus talk with the offensive line of like, how do we do this? We're all hands on deck on the offensive line right now, because that to me, again, 1A issue and just dead on arrival if it doesn't improve. So yeah, I wish I had an answer for it. I don't think the answer is Josh Myers. I really don't. He's not played necessarily anything great with New York, but he was sort of the guy that, got all the calls and everything together. Maybe there's a piece of that, but I wish I had the answer to a T. I've seen Rasheed Walker play a lot better football. Maybe not consistently, but I've seen him play a lot better football than what I've seen this year. Yeah. I've seen Elton play way better football. I've seen Sean Rhyan play better football. I've seen Aaron Banks in San Francisco play better football than I've seen him play this year. And I've seen Zach Tom, I think mostly due to the injury, play better football than I've seen this year. Nobody is playing up to expectations, and Jordan Morgan's certainly not playing like a first-round pick, and Anthony Belton looked bad when he was in. So, yeah.
So we talked about this yesterday, too, on Wisconsin Sports Daily. I'm going to throw it at you. So you were, after 3 games, you were third in play action usage rate. Third. Your quarterback had a passer rating of 128 on play action passes. Since that third game, you're like 28th, 29th in the league. You just quit running it. I brought this up. Who did I bring this up to? I don't know. I brought up somebody, and they're like, well, Sparky, that's because the offensive line stinks, so it takes away their ability to actually do it. Then I saw a play yesterday on social media. I forgot which one it was towards the end, where they run play action, and the linebackers don't bite, don't move, do nothing. Like, we're not going anywhere. So what happened to that? Because That should be a staple of this offense.
Well, the play that you're mentioning is they're down by 10 in the second half. It's 3rd and 10, backed up in their own red zone area, or their own, inside their own 20. And they do a fake play. And it was the funniest thing in the world. You're 3rd and 10. There's like 8 minutes left in the game. I think less, maybe 6 minutes left in the game. You're down by 10. You're not running the football. So yeah, nobody's going to buy it. And of course that play worked. That's the big play. I think Christian over the middle of the field. But there is a piece of that where linebackers right now are just staying back and say, you're not getting past our front four. Why am I overcommitting and sprinting to a spot to stop the run when we know you want to pass anyway? Even if you hand it off, and even if I'm a little bit late getting there, you're going to get like 3 or 4 yards. If I overcommit and play to your run, you might get 15, 20, 30 yards off of a play action because I overcommitted to trying to stop what would have been your 3-yard run play anyway.
So you're screwed because of run blocking more than anything.
I'm sorry, say it again.
So you're screwed because of run blocking. That's essentially what's led to this.
However, especially early in game, and not when it's 3rd and 10 late in games and things like that, they've still been super effective in play action. And we saw it last week. They would have had another big one if not for an illegal alignment where you covered up your 6th offensive lineman on that play. They would have had another deep one to Christian Watson that was off of play action. Right. So it's still early in games and mid games when it's not like a 3rd and 10. And even that one worked. It's still working for you. And they still went away from it at a completely asinine level that doesn't make any sort of sense. So, there's a reason why defenses aren't reacting to it the same, but still do it. It's still working. I don't understand why they're not.
I feel like I'm one question away from making his face turn red, Tommy. I feel like I'm one question away. He said asinine. This is the most fired up I've ever seen Andy Herman on the radio. He was right there on the edge.
Should I try to brighten his mood up a little bit? It's not really.
No, I don't want you to brighten his mood up. No, I'm not done. Stop. So I have another one for you. All right. People want to talk about firing people. Okay. Yeah. And like right now, can you read this? Can you read in the Dugout YouTube chat the Fire Matt LaFleur one?
This one?
Yeah, read that one.
Fire MLF people act like this isn't the 7th year of mediocre coaching.
Okay, you're wrong. He's got double-digit wins in how many seasons? Stop with the mediocre coaching crap. But this is what I will say. If I was Ed Policy, there's 2 dudes I'd walk out the door right now, box in hand, not because they necessarily did anything wrong or whatever, but I'm telling you right now, the last time Jordan Love was good in the second half of that first season, Getsy was doing a crappy job in Chicago and Hackett was doing a crappy job with the Jets. Since then, they're now both in this organization again because they're boys with LaFleur. I get it. And I know Hackett's helping the defense. I don't care what he's doing. He's there. They're talking. They're putting stuff into his head of what they would do because LaFleur's asking everybody under the sun how to fix this. So they're throwing all their rhetoric at him too. They'd be gone. Like, that's it. There's too many cooks in the kitchen, as they say. And both of you are out of here. Matt, you and your coaching staff figure this out. I'm taking 2 voices out of this. If I was Ed Policy or Brian Gutekunst, that's where I'd start before I'd start doing anything else.
I thought you were going Wes Hodkiewicz for the first one. Get him out of there.
I love Wes Hod, man. Leave Wes Hod alone. He's a short guy like me. We get together. It's okay.
Wes is the absolute best. So yes, I would. That's probably again 99 problems. Getsy probably not one. Hackett's not even on their coaching. If you go to like their coaching staff on their website,
yeah, he's a defensive consultant or something.
Yeah, he's not even on there. Yeah. So to me, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but offensive, like to me, Butkus is probably 1A on the list of like watch out like that the offensive line. No, the only thing I can judge assistant coaches off of, because we're not there to watch, the practice where like the actual stuff is taking place. We don't get to be in team meetings. I have no idea. All I can judge on is how many of your players are above expectations, how many are meeting, how many are below, and how many are well below. You have a whole offensive line of playing below or well below expectations. That to me is an indictment of your offensive line coach in that situation. So he's 1A. And while again, I don't expect anything to happen, I still think the special teams, even though they were fine this past week, is probably an indictment still of not Rich Bisaccia hasn't changed anything from a culture or overall special team standpoint. Part of it's not on him. You literally don't have a guy who can return punts on the team. You have 2 kickers. One of them you don't use when, even the other guy's not healthy, and you don't have a single guy who can return punts. So it's not all on Rich by any means, but I would say those would be probably the 2 that would be at the top of my list.
Go ahead, Tommy. Say something happy.
Andy, have you ever been more right about a take than Jair Alexander in your life? Because I put you out there in the Twitterverse, as we all remember, on when Jair was talking last offseason about returning back to Green Bay, or there was a Domofsky report, I believe it was, about the possibility of returning back to Green Bay. And I tweeted at you asking what are the chances that happens, and you have the famous 0.01%, in which everyone lost their mind,
including me.
And then Andy, he's about to retire like the next season. Like, I mean, kudos to you for being just all over it on Jair. I just wanted you to have a little victory lap as you can.
I appreciate that. The one thing I will say, I didn't ever think he was going to be back in Green Bay. Was cheering for him in Baltimore because I thought that was a great situation for him. College teammates with Lamar Jackson, wanted to see him get his career back on track. Not maybe the same in Philly. Didn't necessarily want him to come in and at least the first game against Green Bay, coming in out. That's a team that's obviously competing with Green Bay right now. But it's a bummer that it didn't work out for him. Everything from that shoulder injury on just felt like it literally felt like that shoulder separation, that big injury that he had was just a moment where everything changed for him. He didn't have the same tenacity after that, didn't have the same tackling ability. Then you had the captain's thing where it just felt like, if you remember at that time, the Packers said it was the suspension, not just for that, but for an accumulation of events that led up until that point. And that was sort of the final tipping point. What I loved about that suspension, not to spend too much time on this, but what I loved about that suspension is after it really felt like the Packers learned something from it. It felt like Jair learned something from it. And from the rest of that season, it felt like, all right, that feels like it's in a good spot. I think everyone got better by utilizing that 1 game suspension. And then it came back the next year and everything kind of just, it just never got to that point again. I hope for him, by stepping away, he can find whatever clarity that he needs. I'm a huge supporter and advocate for mental health. I think that's the most important thing. But I appreciate the victory lap or whatever, but the biggest thing is hopefully he's doing all right.
So you're a big supporter of mental health, Andy Herman. One last one for you. Are we all going to be in a better mindset after Sunday's game against the Giants? Am I going to be happy on the Green Bay Football post-game show with Tommy Wirtz after the game on Sunday in New York against the Giants? Or am I going to be needing some help?
Let me throw one back at you. What would it take for you in this game to be happy following that game?
A win.
Oh, no, that's not it. It's a 14-point.
You can't have expectations of anything close to that after this.
I'm saying what would make you happy, not satisfied.
Expectations is like, just win the damn game. But like to make people happy out of this game, to make people like legitimately happy. Like I think it might be like a 3-score win. I think that's
possible because they're all going to say it's
whether it's possible or not. I'm not setting the expectation for that. Let me be very clear. I think this is a grinded out win by 3 kind of game. If you can get out of there with a win, I really do. But I'm saying in order for people to be happy coming out of this game, I think you're like, even if they win by like 10, and for the most part, people are going to be like, yeah, but this still went wrong, and you're still 1-3 in your life.
That's what they're going to say regardless.
Exactly. Yes. So for people, I'm not saying you in particular, but for people to be happy, I bet it takes at least like a 3-score win in order for happiness to take place.
I don't think happiness will be back with this Packer fan base until they beat the Lions on Thanksgiving. Then you'll start to get people back on the happy bandwagon of, okay, this team can make a run now. They figured things out. Until then, these next 2 weeks, it's not going to matter. They want to see them beat the Lions, I'm sure, get back in front in this division. And don't you dare lose a game to the Chicago Bears, Packers. Don't you dare
Sparky,
lose to Caleb Williams.
They were 2-0 on top of the world, just acquired Micah Parsons, had beat the Detroit Lions and Washington Commanders. Yep. And there were like not one, multiple people on social media. And I get it's maybe the loud minority. It was the loud minority, whatever. There are people that are saying you've got to get rid of Matt so that Jeff Hafley can be the head coach of this team. Right. Like that's what, like you were 2-0 top of the world. Everything was peachy and everyone's still like, yeah, Jeff should be the head coach of this team. It's like the level of absurdity that there needs to be for happiness is the bar is insanely high right now.
I agree with you on that. He is Andy Herman, Pack-A-Day Podcast. Great stuff there. Follow him on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. Andy, thanks so much for coming on, buddy. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
Good luck to whoever's on with you next Wednesday. He joins us here on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call That's kind of weird for Andy Herman. You never know who you're going to end up with on a given Wednesday. It's just a rotation of people.
That's my life. Andy just lives my life.
Right. Because you work with everybody. You've never worked with Trevor, and you're with Trevor now the next 3 shows in the morning on Inside Wisconsin Sports.
I just work with everyone and try to be as adaptable as possible. And Andy Herman, if nothing else, adaptable.
Yes, very adaptable. Coming up next, we'll switch gears back to the Milwaukee Brewers. GM meetings are going on. Rumors flying everywhere about every team, including your Milwaukee Brewers. We'll talk about that straight ahead. Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. Live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We're going to talk about the Brewers, but Tommy Wirtz has some crazy stat that's not involving the Brewers. It involves the Packers and a former Packer.
Yeah.
You're willing to do this on the air. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Before you do this on the air, Sports Talk on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, presented by Paramount Plus, streaming November 16th on Paramount Plus. It's the return of Landman from Taylor Sheridan, co-creator of Yellowstone. Academy Award winner Billy Bob Thornton is back, featuring Academy Award nominees Demi Moore, Annie Garcia, and Sam Elliott. Landman, new season streaming November 16th only on Paramount Plus. All right. So, all right. You got some Packers trivia, I guess, that you wanted to throw out here.
Sure. Yeah.
This is a great trivia question because nobody. I bet you Tremonte probably doesn't even know this. Go ahead. Tell me.
Well, with the Packers Hall of Fame inductions happening, the nominees at least being named a week or two ago, Tramon Williams and Earl Dotson both being named to it. Some Tramon Williams stuff popping up on my timeline during that. And when doing some digging, and validating it, Tramon Williams, 9th all-time in NFL history in passes defended and pass breakups.
Who's in front of him?
He's tied with Brian Dawkins, if you remember him. And he is just behind at number 8 all-time, Joe Hayden. Also very solid career in Cleveland.
Who's 7?
7th is Darius Slay.
Who's 10th?
10th is Dre Bly. Remember him from the Lions back in the day, right?
You would put him on a list. I'd take all those cats in front of him.
The top all-time is Champ Bailey. He is.
Notice these are all more current guys because passing has gone up so much in the league over the last 30 years.
I also wonder if this stat maybe wasn't tracked before a certain time as well.
That makes sense then.
Yep. Jonathan Joseph's number 2, Rondé Barber number 3, Terrence Newman and Charles Woodson tied for number 4. Charles Woodson 183 pass breakups. Tramon Williams 153. So
good for Tramon Williams.
Like I said, I was unfamiliar with his game. That's what Charlie just said.
I watched Tramon Williams' whole career, and I would not have guessed that. You told me, I was like, come on, man. But I mean, I guess it makes sense.
Tramon Williams played for 3 other NFL teams. What were they?
He had longevity as well that went along with it.
Yeah.
So Tramon Williams?
Yeah, 3 other teams. What were the 3
Wasn't
other
he
teams?
drafted by
No, he
signed with undrafted by the Texans?
No, his game log, at least, his Packers started his career.
Yes, no, but I believe he started in the Texas organizations, got cut or whatever, and then the Packers signed him, if memory serves correct. And then you're saying he left after Green Bay?
Yep.
I have no idea.
Browns, Cardinals, don't remember that one, and Baltimore, most recently in 2020.
No, I don't remember none of that. I only remember Green Bay.
Played 6 games only with Baltimore, but had 2 seasons in Cleveland and 1 season in Arizona before returning back to Green Bay, if you remember, in 2018 and 19.
I did not know that. Look at that. Learning stuff about Tramon Williams. Super nice guy, too. It is the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers. Live on Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky in for Mason and Mitch. They're both back tomorrow on this show. Tommy Wirtz in his normal spot. Other side of the glass, you'll hear him tomorrow morning and Friday and Monday on Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor Thomas, as the vacationing Josh Albrecht will be out until Tuesday. I want to get some more Brewers in here before we get to extra points coming up in a little bit. There is a lot of talk at the GM meetings right now in Major League Baseball. I believe today is officially day 1, if memory serves correct, about Freddie Peralta and whether or not Freddie Peralta will be moved. Well, I will save you a lot of reading and time. The consensus from pretty much all of the insiders is he's not going anywhere, that at $8 million, it would pretty much have to be knock your socks off type deal in order for the Brewers to trade Freddie Peralta. And Matt Arnold's already said, look, I'm not going to not listen on anybody. I'm listening on everybody. You want to offer me something on anybody on my roster, I'm open. I'll listen. Come with what you have.
Other
right?
than Jackson.
And when you're in a small market, you have to listen on everybody. No, including Jackson.
Wow, you have so much control over Jackson.
Paul Skeens for Jackson Churio.
Okay, that's not. Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Aaron Judge for Jackson Churio.
Not Aaron Judge. He's old. But
what?
No. Skeens I do. But my
foolish.
point. My point is that you always listen regardless of the situation. I don't think when you're in Milwaukee, I don't think you can have untouchables per se at this point when you're in that market. Having said that, the other thing being talked about by some and saying that this is something the Brewers should consider doing, I believe Jeff Passan was the first one recommending this, is going out and trading some of these younger players that you have. Sometimes you have duplicates at different positions throughout the minors where you have a lot of really good players. Tommy Wirtz can tell you all about the minors. He's locked in there. As far as taking 3-4 of these guys, however many it takes, and going and getting a young stud controllable pitcher, or even if it's an older player that's controllable for a couple of years, think like the Zach Greinke move, something along those lines, to be able to go out and get another frontline pitcher to put with Freddie Peralta. And Brandon Woodruff might be back too, a $22 million qualifying offer. If him and his agent can't find anything for more than $22 million, there's a very significant chance that he's going to sign back for the Brewers for 1 year at $22 million. So now you're Woodruff, Peralta, and a third pitcher to go along with those two at that front of the rotation to put with Mizorowski and Priester. And all of a sudden you feel really, really good about what that rotation looks like next year, Tommy. But are you willing to, maybe take a little bit of a gut punch by getting rid of some of these prospects?
Well, when I look at the prospects on the possibility on being moved, I look in the middle infield spots, right? So we know about Mate and Pena being the top two guys, but virtually, again, shortstop, second baseman type players, maybe third base for Pena, but he's not going to provide a lot of pop out of that spot either. And to continue to go down, Cooper Pratt also is the Brewers' number 3 prospect in the organization right now, another shortstop with the possibility of being on the move. And their first round pick, their comp pick from this year, rather, Brady Abel, is now also 18 years old, as well as Jesus Mate and Luis Pena, both 18 years old too. Another guy that is a shortstop, like these are all premium positions. And it feels like a lot of major league ball players get drafted at shortstop and then go on from wherever they're going to go from there. But it's definitely a position that Green Bay has a lot. And
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee has a lot. And if we're going to see Bryce Terang be a part of a long-term plan with this Brewers team, they're going to have to move some of these guys at some point, whether it is to a different position or in the trade market.
Well,
and I think those guys have the most value right now for this team to trade away some of that. Now, as far as the arms go,
ton of arms.
they have a ton of arms still too. Logan Henderson, I think everyone wants to see what he can do in a full season with the Milwaukee Brewers. But again, another guy absolutely could listen to offers to, because he did put up a decent enough sample size in his time in the big leagues this year to say, maybe there's something there. Maybe there's some value there with Logan Henderson. And can he bring in someone a little more high profile?
A guy that we're talking about that was mentioned by Passan on ESPN was Mackenzie Gore, right? Mackenzie Gore came up with that Padres organization, got moved over to the Nationals in that deal. Mackenzie Gore is a guy that is a younger type player, right? That would slot in with a Peralta and a Woodruff and a Mizorowski.
Do you see
and a
Mackenzie
Priester.
Gore as a guy who could be more valuable to the Brewers or to an organization than Freddie Peralta could be?
More valuable?
Right. Could he be an ace in that sense? Because I thought as well, like the Brewers starting pitching was fantastic all season long, but once you got to the postseason, you realized it was actually kind of thin. And it's the way the Brewers operate in the pitching department, where they're going to go into their bullpen earlier than usual all season long. We were asking Freddie Peralta to go 7 innings every single time he went out there, and he just never did it. But he would give you a strong 5.
So Mackenzie Gore this year was 5-15. 5-15
on a crappy team
with a 4.17 ERA, and he had a win above replacement, which was the highest of his career, of a 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 3 solid.
With 5-15 record. The year before that, 10-12 with a 3.9 ERA. And that was a 0.8 win above replacement.
He's also a big strikeout guy, I think, too, right?
Yes,
what were his strikeout numbers?
When you look at his strikeouts per 9, he averages 10.4 strikeouts per 9 last year.
Which plays in the postseason. You want strikeout guys.
He gets Chris Hook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which I think is always a good bump to say, hey, Chris Hook is your guy. But we've also seen that not really pan out with some people, right? I mean, look at Craig Yoho, right? Craig Yoho looked like he was going to be the most surefire, easy translate from the minors to the big leagues. And every time Craig Yoho went out there, from the first appearance to his last, it was just like, I'm not really seeing it anymore with Craig Yoho, right? And even though that was Chris Hook is now a part of this process with him. I mean, we still have Robert Gasser out there to see what can he do to be a part of this Brewers organization in the starting pitching department. I would much rather see them, if they are going to sell off their absolutely loaded farm system, it better be to bring in a bat with some pop, in my opinion.
You get him Arbitration eligible for 26 and will become a free agent in 2028. So you get him for what, 3 more years? I believe is what this is.
2 more years, and then you have to trade him. So put that out there.
But I'm just saying, you have a younger guy under team control that can be at this rotation with Mizorowski, with Henderson, with Priester after Peralta and Woodruff were to leave after 1 more year.
Okay, so let's say this then. Let's fast forward not to 2026, but let's say that everything works out great and there is a full MLB season in 2027. All signs point to Jacob Mizorowski is starting opening day of 2027, right?
As of right now,
yeah.
Depending on what they all do. I mean, if you're trading a bunch of prospects, aren't you thinking that person is potentially going to be your guy going forward?
Right. So I think that if they want to really try to maneuver this the right way, you have arms that you're already very confident in the future, and guys like Mizorowski and Henderson and Gasser that you want to see what they can do at the top of a rotation as opposed to being a fill-in or bottom of the rotation type guy. Plus, the Brewers will make a Jose Quintana, Wade Miley-esque move every year, sure, in that time frame as well. Why not invest in a bat with some long-term control as opposed to an arm with some long-term control? Like Mackenzie Gore, it's an exciting proposition. I like it, but I still think that every year in this golden era of Brewers baseball since 2020, you're really just looking for some bat to provide something in the postseason. That's why Jackson Chourio is already widely considered probably one of the better players on the team, if not the best player on the team. He performs in October. You need more threats in October.
I agree with you. I would rather go the bat way. Another name that was suggested was Sandy Alcantara of the Marlins. Now that guy, he's at $17.3 million in 26. He's a club option for $21 million in 27. Now he'll be age 30 and age 31, unrestricted free agent in 2028. So there's more wear on those tires. He's coming off of injury. If you look at Sandy Alcantara last year, how the season ended in September, 4 starts, 3.71 ERA in September, gave up a home run or more in each one of those games there. Gave up a lot of home runs last year. In August, he had a 3.69 ERA as well. So there's some work to be done there, I think, when you start talking about Sandy Alcantara. He was better in the second half. First half, he was horrible. He had ERA really 7 or 8.
He hasn't been great since his injury after his Cy Young year.
Correct.
It's not someone I would touch.
So that's another one. So he had a 2.28 ERA in 22, 23 at a 4.14 ERA, then hurt. And then last year ended up with a 5.36 ERA after he started to figure things out the last 2 months of the year. Take a quick time out, come back on the other side. We'll get to Mason's extra points, except today it's not Mason. It's me, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. Thanks for listening to the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network on WNFL in Green Bay, 99.7 FM, 93.9 The Game in Wausau, 710 The Game in Duluth and Superior, and of course on 1250 AM at 105.7 FM The Fan in Milwaukee. Make sure to follow us on social media at WI Sports Radio, live streaming on X and of course on YouTube. Wisconsin Sports Daily served up by Wendy's. Comes up from 2 to 5 this afternoon. They have a new prospect list out on Baseball America. Ben Badler of Baseball America will join us coming up at 3 o'clock to talk about that for the Milwaukee Brewers. It's the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the official 5G network, the Green Bay Packers, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back. It is the Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers.
I want to know what you're thinking.
What's on Mason Crosby's mind today?
Now I'm thinking.
It's time for Extra Points, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Nellis.
Tell me what's on your mind.
On the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, Extra Points. Normally a Mason Crosby deal. Him and Mitch Thunder Nellis will be back tomorrow in this time slot from noon until 2. I said earlier in the show this wasn't going to be Packers or Brewers related here for the last couple of minutes of the show. I want to quickly, and I can maybe get into this more on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. We have some time on that show. But this whole thing going on with the Dallas Mavericks, the Bucks beat the Dallas Mavericks the other night. They fire their general manager, Nico Harrison, who, of course, was the guy that traded Luka Doncic to the Lakers. Anthony Davis comes back over in that deal. And a lot of fire Nico chants at games in Dallas. The owner of the Dallas Mavericks decides to make the move on Nico Harrison. Now, mind you, Anthony Davis has been hurt for multiple games and hasn't been playing. Kyrie Irving is also out and hurt. So they're playing with Cooper Flagg and a bunch of other stuff, but definitely not their full team. So their record is not the best in the world. And yet, there goes Nico Harrison. I'm not defending him. I thought it was a stupid trade, just like you did, obviously, at the time when it happened. But the owner had to sign off on that deal. I promise you, there's no chance Nico Harrison of the Dallas Mavericks can trade Luka Doncic without the owner being aware and going, okay, Nico, I'm with you. Let's do this. And then you trade him. The NBA goes, here's Cooper Flagg, right? That's a conspiracy theory. Here's Cooper Flagg to calm down your fan base in Dallas because that's a big fan base. We want to make sure they're happy in a big market. So, boom, there's Cooper Flagg, and then you can him? What? Not even just over a month into the first season with Cooper Flagg on the team?
They're 2-7, I believe it was.
But no Kyrie. Anthony Davis is hurt, and he gets canned for it. With all due respect, I know Maverick fans are happy that he got canned. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. And as the story goes, Nico and the owner apparently were at odds, weren't talking anymore. Whole relationship fell apart, all of that. And now there's rumblings out of who should be the next general manager. Have you seen who's being recommended for that job?
Luka Doncic.
Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban. To come back and be president of basketball operations, let him hire a GM. They hire a new coach, not going to be Jason Kidd. And then you go from that aspect. Crazy town stuff. That's all I got to say to that. Thanks so much for listening for the last couple of hours and letting me fill in for Mason Crosby and Mitch Thunder Nellis. We'll do the show that I do every day from 2 to 5 coming up next, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's straight ahead. My thanks to Tommy Wirtz for hanging out with me for the last, 2-3 days, seemingly on every show we do. We're together. That'll do it for the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of the Green Bay Packers, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Mason Crosby, Mitch Thunder Nellis return here tomorrow from noon until 2. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. Toodles!